All right, welcome everyone to the demo time event. Thanks again for everybody that came out today. Shout out to Joshua Levitt for putting on Tech Alley. We love this venue and this space and this community, so awesome that they had us again. We've got an awesome demo time lined up for you today. First, we have Eli, who will be presenting MagicHat.dev. Next up, we'll have Sami, who's going to be talking about no code. Interesting what that is. And then a Zeke with podcatcher to talk about something neat he's built with podcasts. So thanks again for everyone that came out. Next up after the demo time meetup is a Vegas programmers meetup. Both Eli and Zeke will be diving into a little bit of the code there, as well as we have a great speaker, Amin, who's going to be talking about mastering the tech interview. So I'm excited to hear that one after all of this. So I guess without further ado, we'll have Eli come up and do his talk. But yeah, let's go. I'm going to clip that on you.
I don't know where to put this.
There you go.
Is that good enough?
Perfect.
All right. It's a little light up there, but hopefully people will see it okay. Hopefully QR code will come up okay too. Hi, my name is Eli Armstrong. I'm a local software engineer here in Vegas. I've done a talk back when it was across the street when I did my capstone when I graduated my bachelor's, which recognized flowers. But this one is gone.
Just fell asleep.
See if it'll come back. But this one is more of a, I've heard that it might save some relationships or something. MagicHat is a program to help you make a decision. Right now I only allow MagicHats to fill up with 10 ideas before it'll randomly choose a decision. But if we go to how it works. So yeah, MagicHat was created to help people make decisions. You're able to let people throw ideas in the hat. The hat will live update, so you can give a URL to whoever you want to also put hat ideas in, and it'll live update. We'll do a little demo on that in a second. But that's the overall idea of the application. Let's do a little demo of the application. I recently updated this from a project that was using a little bit less of a modern tech stack. It was more of a granular tech stack. Now I'm using Angular for the front end, Firebase for the back end, and I'm able to use all those rules and all the nice things that Firebase can give us to keep it as secure as possible. I have this little Easter egg that tells me how many hats I've created. I think I might have been kicked off the internet. So let's get back on that.
If you do artifice guest, you should be good with that one too.
All right. With that, let's see. I think that was just cached. There we go, because that will actually tell you how many hats that's been created so far while being used. So 325, nice little round number. In a second, we're going to have 326. So we'll go ahead and get started. A little fun tidbit is that that hat is actually just an emoji. So depending on what operating system you're on, it'll depend on what the emoji looks like. So on Mac, beautiful, nice little top hat. On Windows, crappy, pixelated, shitty hat. So if you go to the website, you need to get help making a decision, you'll see the hat, it'll look different. It's not like I wanted to use the hat, but I thought it was more fun that it was more dynamic that way, and it depends. So if you're on an Android or an iPhone or whatever, you'll be like, hey, the hat's different, that's cool, maybe. Or you'll be like, oh, that's horrible looking. So I need to give this hat an idea, like a title. We'll put next feature. And the first one will be login. I'll put a little login so people can save their hats. Right now there's no login feature. So that'll take a second. It's going to go to the database, make sure it gets created. Now I have this beautiful hat idea. And so you can see down here there's a URL. You can share that to whoever you want. I'm going to put it actually as a QR code on the screen so you can go to the website on your phone and add ideas. The only first 10 will be actually added because I put a limitation on that. But if you take out your phone, scan that QR code, put in a hat. And we'll put this to the side so we can actually see these hats being updated in real time. Sorry, I know I'm playing a game with you guys right now. Oops, get back here. Right side. There we go. As you can see, we got stuff being populated in real time, near real time, obviously. It can't go any faster than like electricity, and the Wi-Fi connection. But we got some things. Get rid of the number. Actually, part of the reason I created this application was just to get familiar with Firebase. I wanted to learn something new, wanted to get my toes into something new. So this is a great application to try something new because there's a lot of CRUD operations. There could be delete, there could be logins, there can be adding, obviously. So in the future, I could very well, when I'm trying to learn React, I could definitely be like, see myself just creating this again in React. It's using a bootstrap. Oh, someone hit the generate button. But it's okay. It was all right. We saw we had 9, and once someone hits that generate button, because you don't always need to get to 10 or whatever, we'll get to the tap to hat. People who already are looking at the app, they can tap right now and see what it is. But the next feature should be use React instead of Angular. Kind of felt like that was going to happen, actually. So that's great. I really do think that would be something to do because I do want to learn React. I saw there's a lot of jobs in React. Unfortunately, the past 2 jobs I've been working, well, it's not really unfortunate, but the past 2 jobs have been Angular based. So I'm still in Angular land until I'm really, until I either do it on my own or I get a new job that's using React. But that's basically it. I don't have much else. Besides doing a high-level technical and any questions about the application itself, I can answer those. If you stick around till after the talks, I'll have like 15 minutes to actually go into code and show you how that works out. But yeah, any questions?
What spawned you to have this idea to make this?
Actually, a friend of mine, he was thinking about making Magic Hat, and he just never did it, so I just did it. I thought it was a great portfolio piece. It's a little different than the other applications out there that are just like clones of Instagram or make a to-do list app or something like that, right? It's a little different. I think it puts me out a little further. Even though I've had a couple years of experience, I still kind of feel myself as a junior intermediate spot in my life. And so yeah, I just figure I'd just keep doing portfolio projects, try to make it.
You should make a hat that says, should you hire me? And then both the answers are yes.
Oh, well, if that's the case, I'll just go to the back end real quick and be like, oh, look at that. It chose that one.
This is a great portfolio piece.
So yeah, some things I'm thinking about is login and resetting hats. It would be a real easy kind of Boolean flag kind of thing just to reset a hat. So it'd be like, oh, well, we didn't really want that. Reset. Try again. Kind of thing. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Actually, I'm the culprit that hit the generate button. I thought it was going to generate a new answer with some sort of AI or something to generate another answer. I didn't know it was going to.
Oh, you didn't. Right. That's the pick the answer button. No, I could see the confusion on it. No, it's completely fine. We got to 9, which is pretty good. If we made it any further, it would have been like, it would only have the generate button saying like, hey, it's time to generate a button. I just wanted to limit how many ideas go into a hat. I wanted to protect myself from just people abusing the database too much because it's all on the free tier stuff. I don't want it to fly out of control. So like one thing you'll notice if you're playing with the hat, and we create a new one real quick. And we go back and we try to create a new hat. We'll actually, oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to make the screen bigger. There we go. So it says not created, wait 45 more seconds. I just wait a minute between each hat just to keep it.
Throttle people.
Yeah, I throttle people. And it wasn't to be mean or anything. It was kind of like, hey, how do I do this? It was more of like, I'm just trying to figure out everything I could do with Firebase. And one of the things you could do with the security rules is have a timer, essentially. It takes a little bit of programming. It's not like just like throw in a timer and have a great day. It's more like math. You put some math in there and stuff. But yeah, just it was kind of something I could be like, oh yeah, there's something else I can do. And there's all kinds of little Easter eggs, I would call them, even though this one's more of like users will hate me for it, but it's an Easter egg for me. And so in 5 seconds, I can actually create this hat. And the button will now become clickable. Before it wasn't. And there we have a hat. Yeah. So that's what I got. I'm sure that's not very long discussion time.
More questions. So when
Yes,
you
sir.
hit generate choice,
Yes.
is it just picks one and that's it?
Right. So
And everybody sees the same answer.
yes, sir. And when you hit that generate choice, it's not like it's like client. It's not using client side either. So someone can't just go into the JavaScript code and be like, it's going to be 3, right? It actually goes to the backend using a function. It's a serverless backend. So it goes to a backend. That one will choose the actual choice. Right now, it's just the basic random number generator. I did have it at one point trying to get from a API that would give me like a more truer random, but I noticed that the connectivity wasn't always the greatest, and it just ended up defaulting back to the JavaScript random number choice. So I just kept it, and then I figured it's good enough for now. And it's a little bit random still because the server that will run that function could be anywhere, and I think it's based off the server time anyways. So
I have a use case for this.
yeah.
So every morning when I do my stand-ups with my developers, we use this silly website called Wheel of Names.
Okay.
When you spin it, obviously it picks a name, but then it removes it from the list of people, right?
Right.
If you added a feature here that says like, continually removes the items from it,
Okay.
I'll start using it for my stand-ups.
All right. I'll write that down. And I'll let you know when it's implemented. I feel like that would be easy enough. And so yeah, it just has to remove a name every now and then. Every time it chooses it, it just takes it away.
10 answers in there, and then it would remove
9 and then 8
and
and
then
6.
show the
Okay.
next one, right?
All right.
Because we've
Yeah.
considered paying for it because it shows ads, and
Oh.
we're like, let's just pay for this thing. We haven't done it yet. But just saying, even though this is a little pet project,
Okay.
it catches on in, Google SEO and stuff like that for that kind of stuff.
I've been doing, I also teach mobile app development at the College Sun, Nevada. I made an application that almost goes with that, and so I can pair students randomly. And then it keeps an array list that won't pair students again for next class. So they're always with someone new because there's a group project at the end, and I want everyone to have interaction with everybody before they make a choice of what groups they want to be in. So I kind of already have an idea of how to make that as best as possible.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through what the development for this looked like? What was the timeline? What did you need to learn? How long does it take to learn these things?
This one took about a week. But that's only because I already had MagicHat 1.0, right? Back when I first got out of my university program, I took a class to help me make websites. It used like EJS, MongoDB, just these kind of bare bones technologies that don't give you a lot of flair unless you code it up with the flair. And so there's a MagicHat 1.0 somewhere out there that if you really worked hard for, I know it's Googleable, because SEO on that's really easy. So I already had the core concept already down. So this took like about a week just because it was after work, weekend project kind of thing, and it was mostly learn Firebase. And Firebase makes, the reason why it even exists is just to make things easier to develop and implement and throw out into the real world, right? So it took about a week. When I do a development process, I usually start with the UI, and I'll make like a fakey-dakey backend layer that just stores stuff in arrays and pops up, and so it's just a fully functional app, just all client side, and then I put in my features for the backend, and then and just do my tests and make sure that edge cases and stuff are working just fine, and yeah, and that's kind of my development process.
Amazing.
Hey, two questions. So first, Magic, that seems like a very specific theme. I wonder why you chose that.
Oh, okay.
And then the real question is, if, let's say, we're using it for stand-up
Yeah. I thought about that. If someone went in there and just started like hammering it, that's why there's a limit, right? Because it was in the back of my brain like, what if someone's just really mean and wants to like charge up my costs, right? Right now it's free, but it wouldn't be that bad. Luckily, Firebase will scale pretty well with what I need. It's just, you just give them more money and they'll just keep giving you process. So if it started getting really popular, maybe throw an ad on it to cover those costs. Maybe actually have some paid tiers so the paid members kind of make a nice experience for everybody. But scale-wise, it's pretty efficient how it's designed already as its containers and its subclasses, kind of sub-documents, is what Google would have, or Firebase would want me to call it. Sub-documents, and those documents have sub-collections that have each idea and everything inside of it. So I can do very, very nice queries on the data. So if this turned out to be like some kind of project, went for my master's, I could use the anonymous data to maybe come up with some analytics to really like get in the psyche of what the users are about.
You store the data. What purpose do you think you have for it in the future?
One of the things I'm thinking is maybe making a login screen, so then you can see your past hats and what those options were. And maybe instead of having like a generate button that anyone could push, it would be a generate button that only the creator of the hat could push.
Oh, question over there?
Oh, how you doing?
Yeah, I have some questions about the throttle. What
Yeah.
is it based on? IP address, a cookie? How do you determine?
Okay, well, it's not as best as it could be. I'll admit that, but it's every time you log in right now, you become an anonymous user, and so that gives you a unique ID. Obviously, there's ways around that, easy peasy ways, but that's what it is right now. It'll check that ID, see if you've already made a hat. So it could be difficult to, it'd be really easy to get around it, but it was just that at least it's one layer that could help me protect myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like if it got popular and you had multiple teams in the same office, added out to the same IP address, at least you wouldn't prevent more than.
That's true. Yeah. And it only happens for the creation of the hat. So once ideas start getting thrown in there, then it will stop at 10. And there's a safeguard on the back end that will only allow 10. And it comes back as a custom error message just saying like this hat's already full or something like that.
And as a reminder, Eli's going to stay afterwards for the Vegas Programmers Meetup, where he's going to deep dive the tech even more. So if you guys have more tech questions, I strongly recommend you guys stay for that as well. Any other questions from the group?
Thank you.
Please feel free to come inside. Take some seats. And can I get your...
I guess next to Jeff. How you doing, sir? He knows why.
You might.
Oh, you want this back? That's weird.
Do you want everyone to hear you the whole time?
Heck yeah.
Perfect. All right. Okay. So I'm going to say this very honestly. I'm really terrified to do this because I am not a developer. I'm like 0% a developer. Okay, maybe like 1% a developer. Because at the end of the day, I really love solving problems. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the screen really quickly, and you guys can all scan it yourselves. It always does this. It always makes it really, really tiny. And so this is one of the things I mean by I'm not a developer. We'll make this ginormous, hopefully. No, it's not. Okay, cool. We're going to, whoa, is that too big? Can that even scan? Can someone try scanning that and letting me know if that doesn't work? It won't work? Does it still work? Yeah. Okay, cool. So we talked about this session being about no code. Because ultimately, what is demo time about other than celebrating the people in our community who choose to take their time to go build things for other people? Whether you're a startup that's sharing your product before it even goes live, or we're celebrating with you when it goes live, or you're an engineer building everything from a pet project to a portfolio project to the beginning of your own startup. Demo time is really, to me, one of the most inspirational moments of Tech Alley. It's not about people who've already done it. It's about people who are starting the process and trying and sharing that vulnerability with all of us. So In a moment of extreme vulnerability, I said, I am not a coder, I'm not a developer, I can't do that technology stuff, but also I don't want to sit around and say, when I get funding to build a platform, I'll build a platform. I wanted to say, what can I do today? And so I'm going to start by flashing you guys forward, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe it's only 1 year, I don't know. But what I do know is I can do this part today. The future version of this, that the data that gets captured during this process is still going to feed into, is that I run a service-based management consulting company that aims to take all of the knowledge that I've taken from corporate over the years and help small businesses and startups grow instead. My skill set is ultimately financial modeling, which means that today I get on a call with someone, I sit down with them, we have a conversation, and I build something for them extremely custom. After working with over 100 companies, after having left corporate, I sat down and I said, okay, I'm 40% over client capacity. There are people that want to pay me that I can't help because I'm over client capacity. And there are people who can't pay me that I need to help, and that's the reason why I started this business to begin with. How can I help all of these people? I did need to become a technology company. I did need to become a startup, and I still am not a developer. So in the long run, my hope is that this becomes a technology platform where you're not filling out a survey, because if you guys scanned this, you saw a survey, meaning that if you wanted to change any single data element, you'd have to take the entire survey again, which is why it's only 16 questions. But what I want to encourage people to start doing today is I want them to understand the power of using data-driven strategy to make those decisions to grow your business, and then turning that around into a story that you can tell other people so they can understand how you made the decisions about growing your company, how you're making decisions to make sure everybody wins and gets value from you, to how to turn around and win customers, fans, and investors over. Please feel free to come in. Oh, it's already gone. Fantastic. All right. So if this becomes a platform one day, because I'm eventually able to do all of the coding things that I need to do, but that day is not today, what can I do in the meantime? Is there anybody, can you just raise your hands if you've ever paid to attend an event so that you can engage with customers there, get emails, social media followers, drive sales calls, maybe sell your product on the spot? Can you raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's like about a third of the room, all right? Would one of you guys have a project that you guys would be willing to use as an example with us today? Can I get a volunteer maybe? I already have an example that I can use, but I would love to use someone else's and just test where this doesn't work. All right, Alex, can you give me, this is very, very small. Hold on, someone taught me how to make this bigger. Fantastic. What is the name of the event you're considering attending? All one word?
Yeah.
All right. What's the cost of attending that event?
$1,000.
Awesome. Okay. How many people are estimated to attend the event?
1,000.
What promotional materials do you need to buy for the event? This is a qualitative question, and its purpose is to tee up the next question afterwards. So I'm giving you examples like flyers, swag, giveaways, advertising. What promotional items are you planning on buying?
We're going to throw an event during it, so hosting a space, hosting a meetup.
Okay. What is the cost of doing all of that?
$2,000.
All right. What investments do you need to buy for the event? I use this question separately because these are items that you can reuse. So if you are buying tables, chairs, banners, anything you don't already have but you could reuse in the future, what are those items?
That I don't already have.
Yeah, items that you are buying now but you could reuse in the future.
Banners, like a microphone and speaker type of thing.
Awesome. What are the costs of those investments?
$500.
And how many events a year are you planning to be at?
5 minimum.
What is your main purpose for being at the event? You can only choose one of these because right now this is a free ROI calculator. I'm really just trying to help people understand the structure and setup and the value. But if you wanted to do all 4, that's actually what I believe is the power of live events, that you get ROI off of all 4 of these categories. And so if you reach out to me afterwards, I cannot do this automatically today, but I will give you a meaningful discount if I have to do it for you on the back end. You want to do number 4, sales on the spot?
All 4 of them will work.
For the purposes of this demo, if you can pick the main one, you said it's number 1?
Yeah, let's do 1.
Okay. And that is the limitation, that ultimately I need this to grow to be able to do all 4. For that goal, so we're saying collecting emails, how do people usually react to your pitch at events? The first one is I can't tell. The second one is some people listen but don't often take my call to action, meaning giving you an email. Some people give me an email. A lot of people give me an email.
A lot of people.
Awesome. Love that. What is your core product?
Real estate investment and real estate mentorship.
What is the cost of your core product?
Mentorship, 15K. Real estate deals, minimum 50,000. I don't know, do 2 different things or just 1?
So this one is core product, and again, those are the limitations of doing this, right? I went across 100 different clients, and I was looking for 2 things.
What 100,000?
100,000, perfect. The limitation is that this is still something that was done custom before, and I'm trying to do a version of it that works for everyone because you're just filling out 16 questions. What is gross margin on your product? So if you're paying team members for labor, try to include that in there. And again, this is an estimate. It doesn't have to be super accurate. 20%. Okay. How many months does it usually take for all sales from an event to come in?
This is ongoing, but
2 months? Okay.
all sales? No.
If you want to do the majority of sales, I think that will also work pretty well. I might reword that one even.
Put 5 months.
Okay. And then I know how to contact you, so I will do that afterwards, regardless. And I just need to put a couple of things in here so that it will go through. And then, do you want newsletters?
Do I want newsletters?
Yeah, do you want to be on my email newsletter? See how it's lead gen already?
I would love to.
I love that. Thank you so much. All right then. Okay, so that's 16 questions. That's all in. You guys, only the people in this room are ever going to see this. Nobody else ever gets to see what happens on the back end. What I did with all of this, because I said I have over 100 clients who all faced this problem. The problem is that we need to get sales, right? We need to make money. And so if as startups who don't have a lot of money, we need to try and do that. This is what I'm ultimately doing. These numbers right here, starting with column X with amortized investment. The first thing that I did is I took the investment dollars that he's putting into this and I amortized it over the number of events that he's going into. These are all estimates. But to start with, were those easy questions to answer? Some of those you had to sit down and be like, oh man, I haven't thought about this yet, right? If you don't think about how you're going to get conversions at an event, you're not going to get conversions. If you don't think about how you're going to grow your business, you're not going to grow your business. My first goal with this survey is to make someone think. My second goal is to make them think about numbers specifically. And then my third goal is that I will, from there, calculate all of these numbers for you, such that I'm able to tell you, and I'll email this to Alex afterwards. The last one that I did was one of my own, that within the first month, my return on investment would be 14 times the amount of money that I put in to be at that event. All inclusive, the cost of the event, the cost of promotional materials, and the cost of investments. What kind of business grows that way today? What kind of business wants to grow that way? Can you raise your hand if you would like to grow a business, being able to know what the return on investment is for every decision that you make. This is the platform that I think we need to have so that all small business owners and startup founders can access that level of insight. It's what management consulting offers large corporations who can pay 7- and 8-figure contracts. And it's what I want to offer each of you today. And more than that, I'm asking for your help with. If you guys could take these surveys and start leveraging them, I'm also honing these. This is a no-code solution, so I can start bringing value to the community today. That after this, I send you an email with my secret weapon, which is a data-driven story. Can we see this? This is a template. Everything that's in brackets is a field. I take your intake, the QR code that you guys all scanned. That is the only interaction that you will have with me. That's the only interaction I will have with you. Not true today, because I'm doing everything manually today, because that's what I can do today. But after you guys fill that out, it gets zapped into Google Sheets. From Google Sheets, it's taking the template and the math that I did. That's my first iteration today, and as each of you interact with it, I will hone and make those data points even better. That it then takes those calculated points and some of your inputs, and it zaps it into what will ultimately be HubSpot, but is currently me manually filling out this template, and then I manually email that back to you, so that you have some level of insight into what your ROI is for an event today. I am not a developer. This is a no-code solution, but it's what I can offer today. And my hope is that each of you, one, want to engage with the community even more, whether that's filling out my survey, giving me feedback, telling me what calculator you think you need next, or building your own project, coming up to Joshua or myself and letting us know that you would also like to present at demo time. I'm going to cut to questions in case there are any, but this would get zapped into HubSpot, and HubSpot would ultimately send the email, because the end goal is for this to be a technology platform, that it is a product that includes 0 service hours, and this is the version of it that I can do today. Any questions? One over here. Hi, Attila.
Yeah, it's an all-code solution, but you need something to build this with. Okay, like Alex had to think of these answers. You know, if there is a breakout for every single one of them,
Yeah.
and then it breaks down into another like form, not Excel sheets, form that actually helps on a purpose assessment to Alex.
Yeah.
That they are, what are those numbers? And
Right.
then put together, you have a more comprehensive service. A business cost, what you actually asked Alex, is all going to product development, but there are a whole bunch of others that business expenses are, like general cost, administrative cost, you know, sales, marketing, so on and so forth. How does the application actually calculate for those additional costs? 14 times ROI, you should go to the stock market right away, like, you know, that's a really good company.
Absolutely.
But again, how does the additional expenses that are not calculated, are they calculated, or we just didn't see it in the demo?
So what I'm doing is I am calculating a number of items in there. And if you can read my fields, you'll see a little bit of how that's being done. This is continuously going away. So I'll try it again. You know what? Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. So if you can see that in there, you'll literally see total cost, number of events, number of months. Realistically, someone intelligent could take a look at this and reverse engineer everything that I've done, because it's not a complicated calculator. That's actually my limitation today, is that I don't yet have this at the point of a technology platform. I'm not able to add in all that many if-else statements. I'm not able to say even, if it's emails, do this. If it's social media followers, do that, then sum everything at the end, because it ends up just being a little bit too complex, but more importantly, it made my upfront survey 34 questions. I know, because I tried that first. And so what I did is I iterated and said, what can I do right now? The version of it that I can build right now is this version right here. I just scoped down and said, this is what I can do. Actually, just kidding, I can't automate it right now. Okay, this is what I can do. I'll do it manually. Okay, just kidding, I'm not good at HubSpot yet. I'll just fill this out myself, and I'll send out every email myself. Because honestly, when I sat down at the end of the day, I also realized all of those if-else statements. Understanding where are the questions hard enough that it's not helpful for me to ask the question this way. The answer that I'm getting, because I'm manually putting it in, doesn't make sense. And then I go back and I edit my survey. This is iteration on my product as well. And so if I can't automate this today, that's okay. But what I need to do today is I need to start making this available to people so they can tell me what doesn't work. And on the off chance that that is the person that this was built for, that their model is straightforward enough, that they can answer the questions with enough insight, and it's not as much of an estimate, because that's the downside. It's only as good as your estimates are. That they can get a calculation, that they can see this template and say, oh, wow, I really do need to go to this event. Wait, hold on a second. Let me actually go do the survey again for another event and see which of these 2 events I should go to first. Actually, I have 10 events and I can only afford to go to 3 of them. Let me just punch these through. Let me go call the organizer and ask them how many attendees are going to be there, because normally I wouldn't have asked to do that. Normally I wouldn't have sought this piece of information out. But now that I realize how it's going to impact the bottom line and what I get out of the event, I change my strategy. That's what this tool is trying to do. It's trying to change mindsets. And then from there, I hope to be able to solve all of the problems that we get to when you're all using the mindset of data-driven storytelling. Then you get to a bigger problem later on. Oh, actually, I don't like the product that I'm bringing to market today. It doesn't bring me as much lifetime value as I want it to be. I want it to be a subscription product. I want to be able to add value in this way. I want to be able to compete against my competitors by not competing against them and making my product seem completely different. When you get to that stage and you've already understood data-driven storytelling because you've been using this tool, I want to solve the problem that doesn't 2x your revenue. It 2x's your profit. If you can save money today by solving these problems yourself, and again, if someone comes up to me and says, I want this calculator, and I get enough of other people who want the same one, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to solve the problems that are most are the most of, but are also similar enough from business to business that I can build something general as that upfront survey. That's my limitation today. When I become a platform, I'm able to take so many other things in, and I know that's my next step. But before I get to that step, I need coding experience that I don't have. So this is my middle gap. And when an investor sees how many people are using this, when I'm able to get meaningful amounts of data, the most basic of which is how much do people spend on attending an event, right? Do we know that number today? Does everyone know what is an expensive event in their minds? It might be different for different people. It might depend on what stage of business you're at. If I can get this platform to the point where I can stitch the data together and say, did you know that the events that you're attending are about 70% more expensive than other people who are in your industry and make the same level of revenue as you? That is what management consulting currently gives as insight to people who can afford million-dollar contracts. I want to give that to people who can't. I know I went really deep on that question. Are there any other questions?
Are there other calculators you plan on building, or is the live events kind of the one you're honed in right now on?
So again, I was looking for the way to add the most value. And so if anybody has a comment on a calculator you think will add value, please share it with me. Please connect with me afterwards. Where I started, because I got stuck building this, is I went back and I said, let me make something more basic, less calculations. And so the other calculator that I have started is pricing a handmade good. So that you can say, here's the cost of goods, here's the cost of my raw materials, here's the cost of labor, and it still does the part where the questions are a little hard to answer. Like there's a question on how much do you value your labor time? And again, it's a mindset question of how do I get you to an answer that feels comfortable for yourself if I don't ever get the chance to speak with you? So from that perspective, do I have other calculators already? I do. Are they good? None of these are going to be good until people love using them and they're actually helpful. But more than that, I need more calculators than this, because the end version of this is the technology platform where you don't have to go in and redo the survey when you want to change one thing. And beyond that, I'm able to forecast new insights like this cost of good is too high or very high relative to other people in your industry and revenue. This product over here, your cost of goods is a lot higher. I have a partner that wants to be able to leverage this platform eventually to be able to say, do you live in Las Vegas? Raise your hand. Would you be willing to drive to a location here in Las Vegas if it meant that it could drive the cost of one of your core goods down by 50%? If I can use this to let you, as you're filling out the survey, opt in to a group order, and then I'll work with one of my vendors on the back end, sum all of your things up and say, here's the price you guys would all get if we turn this into a larger group order and could play for volume discounts. And that we're both out there networking on all of our behalves for people who already have large volumes to add to this. That's the way that I see this growing, and all I have to do to start with is that calculator. I am doing everything that I can today with the goal of tomorrow in mind, knowing that I am not the only part of doing that, that everything from vendor partners to people in this room who have the problems and challenges that I'm trying to solve, we're all part of the community that's going to create a solution. I just get to do the part that I'm able to do today. Any other questions? Okay, one more over here.
What do you think your end product needs to look like and include for you to make money? And then is this first iteration a way to capture leads?
It does capture leads for my business today, and I'll be really honest, it's because I'm over capacity and that the type of problem that I'm solving for people isn't the super valuable problem that I want to be solving. What I found that when I'm helping people design new subscription models or design new products and revenue streams, that I add a lot more value than if I'm just walking them through something fairly straightforward. So it's lead gen, it's making my value a little bit better for the time when they actually come to me with a problem. But the way that this feeds into the platform is it's already showcasing those early items where I can say, okay, this is the cost. For someone who has a product that's $5,000, I'm going to an event that costs $20,000. And that if I can show those people like, hey, like relative to the cost of your product, the event you're going to is kind of expensive. I'm trying to showcase an early version of what I think is going to be the power behind the platform. I think that the platform is ultimately, and I'll throw this out as a goal right now. I don't know that I can make this happen, but in my heart, I love the idea of a $99 a month subscription model where you can put all of your data into a platform where it takes you through quizzes like this instead of just having to sit down and look at a giant map of numbers, that you can go in and say, this is the project that I have. You enter all of the numbers related to that project, that it stores everything in the back end, and it's able to say over time, hey, did you know this? Hey, did you know this? And give you more opportunities based on the data you already have in there. It might ask you for more questions and say, if you answer these three things, we can give you this level of insight. If I could do that at $99 a month, and again, like I can see there being different tiers of this, but a small business today cannot pay a 7-figure management consulting contract. But my product is in the 4-figure range, and I still get people who say, I don't feel ready for that. It could be that your revenue is not there, it could be that you're not comfortable with it, but more than anything, it's about the mindset, knowing the value of the knowledge and knowing that your investment in yourself is going to be more than worth it. The last piece of this is that the service-based space also has the downside of needing to talk to someone. Maybe you don't want to talk to someone, or maybe it's 2 a.m. at night and you're doing this at 2 a.m. and it's not realistic for someone else to get back to you. But I think it's incredibly valuable to give immediate feedback. I think at $99 a month, empowering every small business to do that and iterate with themselves, that is ultimately my goal. That for less than, well, or just about 4 figures a year, every small business can be empowered with data-driven strategy making. Okay, I think I am over time. I will be here afterwards. Please feel free to connect with me. If you are interested in engaging with investing in your own business while also investing in your community and giving a donation to Tech Alley, I am bringing back my rates from last month for 1 day only for this group right here. But I'm also going to introduce the next speaker because I talked about inspiration at the beginning of this, right? The next speaker truly inspires me. He's one of my close friends and one of the best technologists that I have ever met. He built this product, I want to say like this iteration was largely done in 3 weeks with the goal to inspire. He came in building, you should start like getting ready to present. He came in and said, okay, I'm gonna build something really cool. And he had this base product. And then over the course of the next 3 weeks, he said, what other features can I add to this? What else can I add to this? What else can I add to this? Until it became this super powerful but not yet beautiful product that we're about to see. And I think that what it really means is, as someone who's not a developer, I'm trying to do all that I can. I would love to show you guys what it looks like when a developer does all that he can, because this is the generation of technology that we live in, and I invite all of you guys to find how you can contribute, whether it's by talking with us and sharing with us what it is that you need, and so we can try and solve those challenges more, or by creating your own products, because this space is meant for you to demo whatever it is that you make so that you can get more support, so that you can ask for whatever it is that you need, and we can help you go out and get it. Zeke Fapa with, oh, is that what you're calling it?
Calling it Hubbub. And because it needs to have a title, I'm calling it Hubbub Feed Manager. And yes, please come in while I clip on my mic and hope it's pointed in the right direction. All right. First of all, thank you for the beautiful intro. Very flattering, as always. I'm Zeke. I started in engineering, core, sort of C++, that sort of stuff, infrastructure. Moved into kind of operations, project management, delivery, execution, and more recently, product roadmap development, aligning people and selling that to everybody. Right now I'm doing kind of a blend of all of that, problem solving for small tech companies. I kind of like to call myself a fixer. I will not bury a body for you, but if your tech stack needs to be shot, I will be the one to do it. And that brings me to this. Like Sami said, I sort of started because I was had a little downtime at work and kind of excited to see what was out there. I'd been hearing a lot about this newfangled AWS and AI stuff, and it had been a few years since I kind of learned something new. So I refreshed myself, and I was really happy with where it got to. So first of all, a bit of background here. I listen to a lot of podcasts, like probably 3 or 4 hours a day, and on like 3 or 4x speed. So, 10 to 15 hours of podcasts sometimes. I really value that it's hands-free. I'm the kind of person who's always in motion, so I like to be able to listen to something while I'm eating or cooking or cleaning. It's also a great way to catch up on the world. It's really wonderful to be able to explicitly search something, find a book, find a class, and learn exactly what you're looking for. It's also really valuable and complement to that to be able to get something from the world that you didn't know you wanted. Sort of have a curated experience of, I'm interested in science, but I'd like to hear what's new, and I don't quite know what that's going to be. So I really value being able to, as I say, curate that experience of discovery. Being able to say, this is what I'm interested in, and sort of take all the noise and turn it into something that's valuable to me. Which brings me to my podcast clients. On the left, we have Google Podcasts, and if I'm subscribed to 300 and something odd podcasts, and this is my homepage, I see 3 episodes, and this is not enough to catch me up on what's going on in the world. Even if I'm checking every day, I'm subscribed to 300 things. Apple is maybe a bit better. They have some sections. Oh, if you're interested in comedy, you can listen to this stuff. This might be what you're interested in. But it's still relatively low use of screen space, and they both had other issues. Google was consistently crashy. I don't know if it's because I subscribed to 300 or because I had gigabytes and gigabytes downloaded to listen to later, but it stopped working completely. Apple, over here on the right, it only goes up to 2x speed. I don't know if it's only made for like drunk toddlers, but I need something faster than that. So let's talk about what I built. So it is deployed on, you know what? It's the other way. There. It's deployed on Amazon Amplify, which I highly recommend. It's like pennies per deployment, and for just like a React web app or something, you basically git push, and it shows up. It's lovely. Yes, it is me trying to sign in. Thank you for asking. All right, looks like it's my first time using the app. Cool. So, did that. All right. I kind of did that. This is, first of all, ugly. It's developer UX. MagicHat was prettier than this, which I really found amazing from just the week of work put in. This is ugly. It's been about a month. But I partly love this because I want to show you that this is doable. You can sort of put some time in, and there's a lot of technology out there to build on. If you spend a little time with UX and CSS, you can make it pretty too. But look how approachable this is. You can do this. All right, we've logged in. It redirected us to Google. Basically, there's an allowed list of users because it's in beta. And then it redirected us to this AWS Amplify URL. Again, lovely, pennies per deployment. It's also, by the way, loading. This is a bit more tech detail, but it's loading you from Google Drive. So I refresh here. It loads the actual page. It lists all the files the app's allowed to access in Google Drive, which is 1, and then it fetches that. I have no databases. I really value this. You, the user, you own your data. I don't own your data. I can't have a breach. I can't leak your data. I can't not comply with GDPR because I don't have a database. You have kilobytes in your Google Drive. You don't care about kilobytes in your Google Drive. You own your data. You loan it to me for the purposes of using it for this app. All right, let's go over to the edit page. Let's use some of this data. I'm going to look up, say, NPR politics. That's not controversial. What it's doing here is reaching out to, for stupid reasons, it's not reaching out to like Google directly. It's reaching out to AWS, some code running on AWS Lambda, because browsers want to kind of protect you from fetching resources that weren't expected to be fetched in a browser. So it's going to some blob of Python code on AWS Lambda, and it's reaching out to like Google and scraping RSS links out of the internet. If you're Google, if you're Apple, if you're Spotify, you have a big database where people have come and registered their podcasts and gone, please host me, I want people to find me. Nobody's come to me and asked to host their podcast. So I'm reaching out into the internet and shoveling through and like scraping anything that looks like an RSS feed. Great. Let's add some stuff. You can see all it's doing here. So it's gone to, like, again, AWS just on this feed search URL. But everything else, it's just saving all these results to Google Drive. This is the actual RSS feed. But I'm not saving your data. All right, we've got subscriptions. All right, let's go over to our news. So typical stuff. I like here I can sort by, or filter by date. By default, it's going sort of like current week. Also do older, and you can filter by feed. This is sort of your bread and butter podcast feed stuff. If I'm not interested in, say, NPR politics, remove those. Let's queue some of those. Great. All right, fun. Let's see. I really value this because unlike the bullcrap over here, I can get to inbox 0. Like this, there's no inbox 0 here. I can mark everything as played if I try hard enough there. That's awful. Here, I can get to inbox 0. You know what? Fuck the NPR Politics podcast. Great. News. All right, over to the listen page. This is a podcast, right? You want to listen to them? Same thing here. I can filter by whatever. If we add some NPR Politics, sure. Then over here, I can be like, no, just only NPR or only this, whatever. Great. So we can play an episode. I bet the audio's off.
There's also a little board over there that'll give you speakers. I don't know if it'll actually give you speakers because we haven't tried it yet today.
Oh, the way you know.
Got it right there.
Flawless. Anything? No. All right.
What a podcast at 4X sounds like.
It's really amazing. You'd think technology would be better than that, but it mangles the whole thing.
Can you walk us through what it would do in this space?
Yeah, you know what? Let me do it on my phone, because it turns out I have this open. Loading config. All right, so I'm going to play some audio, but imagine you were done with this podcast. There's no, like, once it's done, auto removes from queue or auto goes to the next one. I've had just enough bad experiences with UX trying to guess what I want to do next that I prefer this UX that just sort of goes, here's the thing you were just listening to. If I want to delete it, one click, great. If maybe I want to listen to it again, it hasn't disappeared. Apple does this to me constantly. Or like, if I fell asleep, I tend to fall asleep. I lose tons of episodes. All right, but let's do an example of actually playing a podcast, just so you can hear I'm not crazy. Unless
Those that we've loved for years, maybe even decades, but it's harder than ever to find those that will stand the test of time. So before you update your closet this summer, take a look at American Giant.
So this is 1x speed,
And t-shirts to denim and
which
more.
to me, again,
They've
drunk
got
toddler
everything
mode.
You need to build a wardrobe that you'll be proud of.
Security agency who have this week launched a new laboratory to hold
This is 2x.
It's called the Vaccine Development and Evaluation Center, and we're focusing on tackling current threats like bird flu and superbugs, as well as what
Can people understand that?
potential threat to public health. I spoke with Dr. Alice, who's the lab's
Admittedly, they're British, but
With climate change.
it goes up to 5x. Headphones probably add a good 50% of hearing power. Speaker kind of bounces off everything. But if you're in headphones, it's amazing how much you can comprehend. And some podcasts aren't British and are even slower. So really value the power user if you're subscribing to all kinds of different stuff. As I say, okay, I'm bored of this podcast, whatever, choose what to listen to next. Thank you. Let's do, all right, real quick, I'm gonna go over to, so that's like your bread and butter podcast stuff, nothing interesting so far. But again, like this is basically entire backend deployed on AWS. I don't have real servers, don't have real databases. I have like React code that's in my front end. Again, automatically deployed to AWS. I don't have to deal with like any backend here. It was really shockingly easy to get a lot of this relatively complicated functionality working, and that goes doubly for some of the stuff we're going to talk about next. So,
How long did it take to do the space room that we're seeing here?
I would say my guess is probably around, so including stuff like searching for feeds, which was a little bit of an extra like trial and error of how you have it not take a minute and a half to go search everything. Probably something like 40 to 60 hours, maybe 40. So probably, is that high or low?
Low, very low. I'm not a developer.
So I do have a fair amount of development experience, but it is really amazing how, I think Eli was talking about Angular, but React is honestly relatively good. It's not impossible to stub your toe, but there are a lot of ways that it makes it harder to stub your toe. Sort of dealing with caching and stuff, refreshing at the right times is all pretty easy. So it's amazing how much, since so many people have invested into the infrastructure and sort of ecosystem in React, how much is already out there for you to use. With a lot of development, if you are happy with what you can get off the shelf, it's supremely cheaper to use it until you have stronger requirements. With any given project, 90% of what you want is stock standard and 10% is the real magic. And whether you're an individual or you're a team, you really want to focus the effort on that 10%. All right, I'm over here. I'm going to tag some of these podcasts because, again, let's imagine I have like 300. It's valuable to be able to do that. And if I go over here, let's say everything older. I can filter by news. If I had multiple news podcasts, this would be valuable because often, I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll get to the end of listening to news and be like, I need to not listen to any news anymore. And if I go over here, it's like, you might like news. No, I know what palette cleanser I want. It has a bunch of guesses. I have buttons. Give me science. Give me news. Don't guess. Don't guess. You're not going to do it well. Q, same thing. We can filter by science news. Basic same idea. All right. Let's talk about, quick aside. This is all desktop apps so far, but it does, as I sort of mentioned, work shockingly well on mobile. Like, I don't know if you can see, but this is sort of what my table looks like on mobile. Like, it is usable. I use it in the car, use it when I'm cooking because I'm not carrying my laptop around. It's not a mobile app, there's some screen real estate issues and stuff, but like it works. Okay, let's see. All right, now let's talk about some magic. I wish I had audio. I'm gonna try real quick.
If you plug the HDMI into the converter and plug that into your phone, will that share your phone version?
Oh, you know what? I found the issue. Allow sound.
Welcome to the show where we bring you science.
All right. So I don't know if you noticed the AI column over here. If you click on it, these are missing. It'll kick off a job in AWS to do some fancy AI stuff. Cutting edge, OpenAI, John Snow Labs, whatever, AWS Fargate, fancy words. It does take a while. It takes about a third of the time of like the runtime of the podcast itself. So if I were to click generate on this, it would probably take 4 or 5 minutes. I've pre-generated this one just as an example, but it's transcribed it, and it's transcribed it because it's AI generated really well in sync with the actual audio. So I can go.
The program where we bring you the latest breakthroughs in science, technology, medicine.
Sure. But I can also do things like go, I'm not interested in this intro. I'm going to scroll through.
And there's going to be a lot of really nasty radioactive things inside there. If it's
All of a sudden, it's multimedia. I've got, let's click here. So I can go from listening to the audio, go, oh, this isn't a section I want, open my screen, scroll to the end, say of an ad, and then click to the end. I've also got these like paragraph skip buttons, does kind of the same thing. And that's powered by AI. Even podcasts that provide you a transcript typically don't provide it with the metadata that lets you like match it to actual slices of audio. It gets really powerful. Let's see, anything else? Column, plan, syncing. Yeah, cool. Click to seek, we did that. This basically concludes the sort of finished features. As I say, this is something I use daily. It's kind of the second app I've made for the purpose of just like, I'm mad at my phone, let me make something that works better for me. My first one was email management. I use this regularly to manage my podcast. I'm sick of Apple, sick of Google. This works. It's sometimes a little slow. With 300 podcasts, it takes like a minute to load everything. Fair enough. Works better than everything else. There's some things I'm working on where I'd like to take this. And how am I doing on? Okay, at the end of my time, gonna go real quick. I'm working on sort of keyword extraction that lets you do this slider-based approach to like, how much fluff am I willing to deal with? Let's apply AI to find which parts of the podcast actually talk about what the podcast is about and apply this threshold to like, you can skip all that. Still working on it, still doesn't work well, but it's a direction that I think is gonna work. Similar idea, GPT-powered summaries I think would be really valuable. Being able to say, hey, so take this, give me something that's 50% as long. Now that it's text, we can apply a lot of stuff that already exists to it. As I say, keyword extraction and being able to, over here, go like, I want to listen to podcasts about, often there's a big news event, whatever, comet. Show me all the things that talk about the comet. And then it's also easy to be like, well, I've now heard about the comet. Delete all the ones that are about the comet. Let's see. In the long term, I think it's really valuable for this to support other feeds, not just podcasts, not just audio. I don't know about you. I consume differently at different times, specifically with respect to information. I make no claims about anything else. Podcasts for me right now, audio, great. Sometimes I'm a big reader. Sometimes I have a huge stack of Feedly. It really bothers me that when my life changes and the kind of consumption I'm doing in my day-to-day changes, that it basically changes my information diet. It shouldn't. The information isn't at all tied to the format it's in. So I'd like this to be able to subscribe to other feeds. Now that we've already got audio and text, you can sort of see how you'd be able to subscribe to blogs, news, Substack, whatever. I think also you should be able to subscribe to YouTube. We've sort of seen a bit of the power of being able to switch between formats, going from audio to text to audio for sort of the kind of interaction that you're trying to do at the moment. Lots of podcasts also have a sort of a video feed or a corresponding YouTube channel. Being able to decide at the time of consumption, I'm able to watch video, I'm interested in the video right now, I need something quiet, it's midnight, I just want to read everything right now, I want to listen, and have that not be tied to what the thing is you're consuming is really powerful. So I want to power up that ability to switch between different formats, as well as synthesize audio. So being able to go from text back to audio I think is important. And then real quick, what I've learned, because that's the point. Tech stuff, Docker, AWS, et cetera, et cetera. Some stuff about data sanitization. You're subscribing to 300 podcasts. They're all going to make different decisions about something that isn't explicitly required. So some of them supply their duration as like a number of seconds in a string. Some of them supply it as like 01:30. And that's just one example, but like everything has made slightly different choices about how they provide their data. And so as a consumer, it's really annoying to have to go to a million different websites or a million different blogs or whatever that all look slightly different to consume the same kind of information. Similarly in tech, it's really annoying to have to deal with 300 different kinds of data formats. So both for people and for the tech system, the secret sauce, the thing that makes this approachable is unifying as aggressively as possible. Once you get all your data, go, all right, as early as possible, I'm going to convert all these like different forms of duration into the same thing. So I know what to expect. And then I only have all these branches up here instead of way down here, and all through the whole code. learned some interesting things about podcast URLs. So no matter how hard you try to resolve a link ahead of time, sometimes they'll just decide to provide you different audio when you request it later, mainly because they want to bake in different ads. It's annoying to work around. It also gives a really interesting surface area for skipping ads because you can just request the same audio file multiple times, and the parts that are different are probably ads. I learned that things work remarkably well on mobile. If you just sort of build a React app, it's amazing how much of it just sort of scooched around and resized properly to be, again, not like an actual well-designed mobile app, but workable on my phone. Last, and most importantly, AWS is pretty amazing, not sponsored. I would accept money if anybody knows anybody at AWS. I, again, probably put in like total, something like 100 hours of work, so about a month. In terms of like a single developer time, a month for me. In terms of like full-time developer hours, it's probably 2 to 3 weeks. If you're talking about a team of 5 developers, that's sort of the equivalent of 2 or 3 days, which I describe as like dev time you find under the couch cushions. This is not a big project. It does a lot. It's useful. It serves me. I feel like it might serve some of you. And it sort of took me, a month of kind of part-time hacking on it. I really, really recommend AWS. It has a lot of guides, has a lot of documentation, has a great ecosystem on top of it, YouTube videos, etc. It's really amazing if you spend, a month just sort of teaching yourself how much you can do with a team of 1.
So as a reminder, Zeke and Eli are both staying afterwards for the Vegas programmer meetup. If you want to learn more about how they built this, do a tech deep dive. We strongly recommend you stay for that. It will be really cool, really amazing. And there's also tips on how to get interviews and jobs in the tech space. Before we close, we have time for about 2 to 3 questions. Does anybody have questions for Zeke?
Sure.
So how do you work with the audio, like downloading it and then 1x, 2x, or using variable bitrate, something like that?
So that's one of the examples where it's really, really valuable if you don't want something custom to just use what's already there. Turns out HTML5 just has an audio player element. You just give it the path, and then it has an option for like hide controls. So you put it in the page, and you're like, I want to add my own buttons, and it does all the playing. It supports playback speed, supports streaming and all that stuff. So it was like the quickest part of the project, which I thought was going to be the first week or whatever.
Could you talk a little bit about your AI-powered summarizing?
Yeah, so really, really straightforward. I'm going to talk about it a bit in the tech talk too, but OpenAI has released Whisper, it's called, and it's on GitHub, and it's like 1 line basically. So I asked it to output in JSON, so it was relatively easy to parse, and that's basically the extent of it. I get that. It comes with text snippets, start and end timestamps, and a bunch of other data I don't use. So I'm just going to parse that and write it back out.
I noticed when you put the slider halfway, it got rid of the entire conversation, which is really critical. What's the criteria for an important conversation? Does it let you play with those levers at all?
So I'm still refining it. As I said, that's kind of the part where it stops being production ready. What I'm doing there is I'm using NLP libraries from John Snow Labs, which they have a bunch of different approaches to sort of keyword extraction, parts of speech detection, and I'm still sort of trying to figure out which slices of its features to use for something that like ends up working well for a human. Because again, part of the question is not just like, how do I get this to work well for this podcast, but how do I get a set of tools that like, once I turn them from code into buttons, will work well for like anything someone's going to subscribe to. So that's kind of the research right now.
We have one more question over there. One more question? Did I see it?
So if you do, if you're trying to scale it, would do you think the cost per explode to translate to text or?
Good question. So my AWS costs for this month are something like $7. A decent few dollars of that are some unused storage I just had lying around. But my estimate, I think what I'm seeing costs more than this, but my estimate based on their pricing is that per hour of podcast transcribed, it costs about half a cent. So if you're consuming at kind of my scale, it does mean you might end up spending like $10, $20 a month. And part of that is predicated on like the transcription quality isn't great. I picked the tiniest model, so it'll do things like, I don't know, mishear names or be like, yeah, it tend to miswrite stuff, but it's kind of fine because it's so well synced with the audio. You know what it's going for anyway, and it serves the purpose. But yeah, I think price and scaling is definitely a question. I think this is sort of my first pass, and I'll talk about it a bit in the tech talk, but this is sort of my first iteration of just like throwing things into AWS Batch, AWS Fargate, using OpenAI Whisper. So I haven't really tried too hard to like take down the compute time, take down the memory usage. So I think it's probably, I think improvable, but even so, the amount, like the transcription itself is probably 90+% of the cost, and even that's not that much.
Sure, let's do it. One more.
So the timestamping for the transcript, is that, does it, when it generates a transcript, is that when it's putting a timestamp on each block of text? And that's why you can jump around?
Yeah. I can show it in the tech demo, but yeah, the transcription comes as a big JSON blob with like fragments of text that have start and end timestamps in seconds. So I basically just parse the whole blob, do a bit of like fudging to stick things into paragraphs together so it's not all big stream, and then yeah, it's basically each segment is just matched with the start and end. If you click on it, there's a little JavaScript that just goes, all right, jump to that start.
Awesome, thank you so much. So again, as a reminder, we are going to stay afterwards in the exact same theater if you guys want to stay for the tech like deep dives on this, and there is that interview. A huge thank you to Joshua Copeland who puts this together every single month.
Sami.
He does all of the work so that we know what meetups are actually going to be here and who's actually going to be presenting. It's incredibly helpful. He's also a huge part of just like the coding community here and why we have people who are spending their free time making projects like this and sharing it with us. Eli and Zeke will both be staying after. I really strongly recommend like chatting with both of them. We will start at 2:45 for the next session. If you guys have a project that you would like to demo up here, please reach out to either of us. We would love to see more of our community members sharing what it is that you made. I have one question for you all today. Could I get a show of hands? Can you raise your hand if you were inspired today? Yeah?
100%.
Yeah, that's what we really want. I really appreciate that so many of us are coming out to this because it inspires me. It's why I'm here every single time, because I love seeing every single project that goes past this stage. I would really love to see more of you guys here as well. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you. And just as one last reminder, if you do want to submit for a demo talk, or if you know somebody that wants to submit for a demo talk, you can go to phpvegas.com. At the very top, there's a submit a demo button that you can fill out our form, or just feel free to grab my card here at the front, email me, and I'll get you the link to the form. Feel free to grab a sticker on your way out. But yeah, we'll have about 15 minutes for a little mix and mingle, networking, things like that. Say hi to your neighbor. Yeah, we'll get kicked off at 2:45 for the programmers meetup. Thanks again, Sami. Thanks for all our demos today. Another round of applause for them. And yeah, thanks to all of you for coming out too.